free world.
Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the...
Hail to the culture. Bryce and Rome, we are back again, and this time it is a special NFL Draft Day episode of Hail to the Culture. We're breaking down the NFL Draft from a Redskins perspective. Rome, what up, bro?
What's good?
Hey, nothing much, man, nothing much. Big day on the horizon, NFL Draft. Let's jump right into it, man. Obviously, the Skins have the 15th pick. What direction do you want to go with number 15, Rome? Break it down for us, man. Look, before we get into some specific names, let's break down position. Let's break down some positions you would like to see us take with that first pick.
Man, there's so many options with the 15th pick, man. I believe we could go really anywhere. There's trade options. There's all kinds of options. So a few weeks ago on one of the pods, I said that if we didn't come away with a quarterback in the first 2 days, that I might riot. So I'm going to stick with that. I got to say, you got to get a quarterback one of the first 2 days. That should be a top position need. But I don't think that they're going to reach for a quarterback at 15. I don't know if they're going to want to trade up to get one or if one might fall into our laps. But I would say quarterback's got to be the number one position in need, and that should be obvious. But if you look at it, the wide receivers that are on the rosters, we got Doxson, Crowder left. I don't know if Michael Floyd's sticking around, but even if he does, that's not exciting. So I would say wide receiver is right there underneath quarterback. But the next thing that I think no one's really talking about is offensive guard. I don't know if they go with an offensive guard with the 15th overall pick, but there's some good linemen in this draft, and I don't know if it's completely out of the question to take one at 15, considering what's been left guard the past few years. But I think they definitely go offense in the first round. What are you thinking?
So real quick, before I move away from that, man, is it fair to say that your ranking is number 1, quarterback, number 2, wide receiver, and number 3, offensive guard?
Absolutely. Day one, I expect to see a quarterback, wide receiver, or maybe even an offensive guard off the board. I'd be kind of shocked if they went another direction.
Okay, yeah. So I definitely agree with your first target. Number 1 on my list is to get that quarterback, but of course that's only if the right one falls. But I would say number 1 is to get that QB. Number 2, if it's not a QB, I would personally like to see us go with add another piece of the defense, man. I feel like we're building something special, especially with that Alabama wall up front. You know, we just re-signed Matt Ioannidis. We're going to be getting a big-time push from that interior for years to come. I would love to see them add a pass rusher, an edge rusher, somebody who can come in and benefit from that big-time push we're going to be getting up front. And third, with our first-round target, I would like to see I would probably say offensive guard myself. And that's only because I see some wide receivers falling to the later rounds. And if I had to say my last first-round target, I would love if we get one of the premier offensive linemen out of this draft. And you've got a few up top that look like they could develop into something special. So I wouldn't mind seeing that with my last option if we had to just choose 3. And of course, 4th would be wide receiver because we've got holes to go around. So now that we've kind of got the rankings out the way, let's jump into some names, man. So first round quarterback. Which quarterback would you like to see us grab?
In the first round, all right. So I've fallen in love with Dwayne Haskins over the last few weeks. I was pretty sold on him already. But the more I see him in his interviews, the more I hear him talk, this guy is definitely got it from the neck up. He's got the arm that's needed. The only thing that's really missing is the legs. He's a prototypical quarterback, which I typically don't really lean towards. I'm much more of a mobile guy. Like I like my quarterbacks to be able to move. But the head that's on Dwayne Haskins, the mentality that he's got, like the confidence that he shows, I really like Haskins. I'm not quite sure he'll be there at 15. I know he's sliding down some draft boards, but there's a couple teams on there ahead of us that I don't think are going to pass up on quarterbacks. The Dolphins, the Bengals might surprise some people and grab one in the first round. I'm not sold on the Broncos not picking up a quarterback. I know they got Joe Flacco, but I could still see them drafting another one. But I would say Haskins is probably my favorite quarterback on the board. Obviously, Kyler Murray is exciting and could be outstanding in the league potentially, but I'm 100% sold that Arizona is going to draft him number 1. So I think it's going to come down to either Haskins or Locke. There was a report that Washington might trade up and try to get a guy like Daniel Jones. I think that would be horrible. I like Daniel Jones, not at 15. I don't think I really like Drew Lock at 15 either. I think that would be a bit of a reach, but I would take Haskins at 15 or Murray, but I don't know if either one of them will fall that far.
Yeah, I definitely don't see Murray getting down to 15. I, like you, have studied Haskins closely over the last couple of weeks, and yeah, I've only grown in my affinity for the quarterback. I think he's going to be a really, really good player the more I watch. I mean, you're talking about a guy that threw 50 touchdowns, only 8 picks on the season, third in Heisman voting only because Kyler Murray's season was ridiculous. Hey, I like Kyler Murray, but I'm going to be honest, man. Dwayne Haskins has moved up my board as my top quarterback. I've got Kyler at number 2 now, and I've got them followed by Daniel Jones. But yeah, man, I got Haskins up there, man. I like him a lot. He's got a really strong pocket presence, but like you said, from the neck up, he's got everything you want. The guy makes quick reads. He throws into tight windows, and he gets through all his progressions. Jay Gruden would love a quarterback like that. I mean, I'm talking about Haskins can go from read 1, 2, 3, and then hit the guy on the fourth read. And you got to love that. You got to love that because that's what the NFL game is all about. Drew Lock, though, I like Drew Lock, man. Drew Lock has got a hell of an arm. And Drew Lock can make all the passes. The only thing that worries me about Drew Lock is I see him miss too many of the gimmies, too many of the easy passes, too many of the crossing routes wide open. He just rushes and misses those passes. And that would be tough, man. To see him or Daniel Jones, it would come down to Daniel Jones or Drew Lock at 15. I would probably lean towards Daniel Jones just because Daniel Jones has that pedigree. I mean, David Cutcliffe trained him, Duke. And not to mention, he's under the tutelage of the Manning brothers, Peyton and Eli. So I mean, you gotta like that. He's got all the intangibles. And the thing I like about Daniel Jones, he's a sneaky athlete. That dude can get out and run. So I like Daniel Jones, but yeah, man, it's gonna be tough when it comes to those quarterbacks. That first round, and I also could see a guy like Will Greer even maybe possibly going in the first round. Maybe a team trading up. I've heard the Redskins, were there for his pro day and had him in for a visit. So that could be a guy they're interested too. Maybe we're moving back up, getting into the late first round and trying to snag someone like him. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see if they do take a quarterback, who they go with. So outside of quarterbacks, you said your second position of need would be a wide receiver with that first pick. You got any wideouts you'd be targeting?
Well, yeah, wideout has been a tricky evaluation for me this go-round because there's so many good ones. And like you mentioned earlier, they're not necessarily top tier where they're all going to go in the top 10, top 15. You could potentially wait and try to get one who's just as good in the second round. But I kind of have this funny feeling a lot of those receivers are going to start to get plucked off literally in between when the Redskins are picking. So they might have to reach just a little bit to get a receiver. And I don't like drafting for need necessarily, but if you look at the cupboard that is the Washington Redskins wide receivers right now, it is bare thin. I mean, we're looking at a pack of ramen noodles. And no disrespect to the players that are playing, but let's at least get some fruits and veggies up in there or something because whoever we do end up picking at quarterback, we've gone over a lot of the guys that could potentially be there. They're going to need someone to throw to you. And right now we don't have much. So a guy that sticks out to me, the first name is DK Metcalf. Love his game. There's Hollywood Brown. Would not be mad at that pick. And then there's N'Keal Harry. Those are the three names that are – also Hakeem Butler. I don't have necessarily one receiver pegged down. I just really want Washington to pick up someone. But I guess if I had to pick a favorite, it would be DK Metcalf.
Yeah. I mean, DK Metcalf tested off the charts at the combine. He's got everything you look for as far as a physicality standpoint. I mean, you're talking about a speedy guy at that height to be running the 4.3s, be able to go and get the ball
ridiculous
on deep balls the way he can. Yeah, I mean, he's a special athlete. My only problem with Metcalf is the production is not there, and mainly due to injuries. And looking at our past draft history, man, we don't fare well when we draft injury-prone guys. And the last thing we need is a guy that's injury-prone. That's not really to say that Metcalf is injury-prone, but the production throughout his tenure at Ole Miss is just not there. A couple more names that I like, but if it was him at 15, I couldn't say I would be disappointed. I can't say I'd be disappointed because he's got tremendous potential. I think my favorite receiver on the board though is definitely Hakeem Butler out of Iowa State. He tests very similar to DK Metcalf, except he's a lot better in the short agility drills and explosion drills. But they test similar. I mean, I think Hakeem Butler ran a 4.42, and in addition to that, he's 2 inches taller than Metcalf. Butler's 6'5", and this guy can go up and get the ball. And he's unlike. Don't get me wrong, Metcalf has a similar ability as well, but Butler has the production. Over 1,300 yards in his last year at Iowa State. And, I mean, this guy after the catch is something special. He's tough to bring down. He uses his frame well. He catches the ball and stays on his feet on crossing routes, and he's a threat to take it to the house every time. Another guy that I really like would be Paris Campbell out of Ohio State. I think Paris Campbell, man, after his combine, I think he could see himself as a first-round pick at this point. He reminds me of a few guys, but the guy I compliment to him the most is T.Y. Hilton. Because Paris Campbell can go up to get it, go out and get it. I mean, you throw it up to him, he can run under the ball. But on top of that, he's got special ability on those crossers, and he can take a 6-7 yard route and he can turn it into 40 yards instantly, just because he has that type of game-breaking speed and vision. So I really like those three guys, and I also like N'Keal Harry too, man. And N'Keal Harry, to me, he's like a Michael Thomas, and everyone remembers how Michael Thomas slid in the draft. And you see what he's ended up being for the Saints. And that's who N'Keal Harry reminds me of a lot. Big, strong-bodied receiver, tough. He's a willing blocker. He puts his nose in. He's physical. After he catches the ball, he's going to get you yacked. Now, N'Keal Harry might not have the breakaway speed that some of these other guys have, but he has the vision. And although his speed's not crazy, Arizona State even used him as a punt returner and a kick returner. He's even taking those to the house. So he just has crazy vision. So I definitely wouldn't be opposed to the Skins taking him. At 15, might be a little bit of a reach for me. I would like to see us trade down if we want to go the N'Keal Harry route. But even he would be a great option, man. There's some receivers in this draft. And there's some pretty good guys that are going to fall. So let's continue down the list, man. You said your next target would be offensive line. Any offensive linemen you've had your eyes on?
Yeah, there's a few, but it's also kind of like wide receiver. You got some top-end guys that might go before 15, but then it's like the rest of them, you could probably wait to the second round. So if they were eyeing someone in the first round, if a guy like Jonah Williams falls or Andre Dillard maybe, preferably someone that they could plug into left guard. I really like Jonah Williams because he's a tackle, where you could plug him into guard, and then let's say Trent Williams goes down, Morgan Moses has had a terrible injury history, you can bump him right back out to tackle, and you also got John Christian also. So anyone that they feel like they could plug into guard, and I know they just signed Eric Flowers. To me, that's almost as bad as signing Mark Sanchez. He is the Mark Sanchez of offensive linemen, in my opinion. So I definitely want to see them target a guard. Like I said, it doesn't have to be first round, but it definitely needs to be done.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that, man. Jonah Williams is special. I like Jonah Williams a lot, man. If he was to fall, I could definitely get on board with that. Couple other names to keep an eye on, man. This guy out of Kansas State, Dalton Reisner. I like him a lot. He seems like he could be he's got the potential to possibly be just a plug and play immediate starter. So yeah, I mean, if we did go offensive guard, to me that's telling me something about about them believing in what they have. If they're going offensive guard, that tells me they want to protect Case Keenum or Colt McCoy, and they trust those guys, and they trust Jay's scheme to get it done. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad idea or a good idea, but
what it would
that
tell
would happen.
me,
That was what that was signaled to me.
What I would take from that is they're going to put a huge emphasis on running the football. This past season, I didn't expect Jay Gruden to base the offense off the run game so much. I mean, maybe he wasn't going to. We got Adrian Peterson, so I'm sure that changes things. But going into next season with AP, guys coming back, Chris Thompson, if for some reason they don't get another quarterback, and I'm calmed down from destroying my house because of it, then I think if they get a guard, I really believe they're gonna be a run heavy team again. I mean, guys, AP, they say they're gonna keep Samaje Perine around, and you got Chris Thompson. So there's like I said earlier, the wide receiver it's thin. Even if you get a rookie, if we get a rookie wide receiver, he's probably gonna be our number one receiver. So that'll say enough right there. So there's gonna be a huge emphasis on the running game, I'm sure. So whether it's first round or not, left guard has to be addressed because I just don't believe Eric Flowers is it.
Yeah, nah, I mean, I agree with you, man. I mean, and Eric Flowers, hopefully he's not it. I just hope he's not. We'll see. A couple other names to keep an eye on. If we do go interior linemen, guys I really like, Garrett Bradbury from North Carolina State. Man, this dude is he's a plug and play. He's a plug and play. You got and one more guy is Eric McCoy. Eric McCoy from Texas A&M. This dude's strong as an ox, man. And like, if you're gonna get an offensive guard, he's got to be able to step in immediately and play. In my eyes, we can't have another line, or I don't want to have another lineman that needs time to develop. It can't be a Jerron Christian type of offensive lineman. If you go first round guard, I need him to step in and play right away, and that's the bottom line. And I need him to be an instant impact player right away, along the lines of Brandon Sheriff. So I wouldn't be upset if that did happen, man, just because it would solidify us on the interior, man. And it seems like although we've had really good pieces on our offensive line for a few years now, it just seems like as a unit they haven't put together a great season yet. And it seems like the leak always came from that guard position opposite of Brandon Sheriff. So maybe we can finally get somebody to play in that left guard spot. So the last position group, man, that we kind of mentioned for the first round pick was edge rushers. So, man, do you have any? What do you think about the edge rushing group this year's draft? Do you have any guys that you would want to snag if it came down to the edge rusher?
Well, obviously there's a ton of good edge rushers in this draft. That goes without saying. I honestly think most of the elite level ones will be gone in the first 5 to 10 picks. But if for some reason a guy like, let's say, Rashawn Gray falls somehow, Montez Sweat falls, if these guys for whatever reason falls, and there's possibilities, like Jonathan Allen fell to us, so there's definitely possibilities, but I wouldn't be mad at all if we drafted a first round pass rusher that was a stud. But I wanted to ask you this when you mentioned it, because Doug Williams in his presser said if we had a game today, Ryan Anderson would be the starting outside linebacker, and that they were, I'm paraphrasing, but they would basically be happy with that. They'd be okay with that. What are your thoughts on Ryan Anderson? Because if we draft a pass rusher in the first round, what does that leave a second-round pick like Ryan Anderson?
And Ryan Anderson, man, I like the guy, and I like his team. I like the fact that he's all about the team. But to me, he just ain't it on the edge, man. He can be a part of a rotation, but you need a dominant edge rusher. You need somebody that can really bend the edge, bend that corner, get to the quarterback in a hurry. And in my eyes, so far, what we've seen from Ryan Anderson, it's just not him. Now, could he develop into that? I'm all for giving somebody time to develop. He's still young. It was only his second season, so let's give him another chance and let's see what he could become. But I mean, he started coming to his own a little bit. I'll give him that. And I do like the fact he's a team guy. I mean, you saw him out there playing fullback, blocking. You got to love that. You got to love a guy that'll put his ego to the side and do whatever the team needs. But, I mean, I just got to see a little bit more. And if you can get one of these dominant edge rushers, you got to go that route in my eyes. I really think that, like, the defense is another premier pass rusher away from really, really being one of the top defenses in the league. And I couldn't pass up on that opportunity just because we have Ryan Anderson in-house.
I agree with that. The thing I think Ryan Anderson is missing and the team is missing is they need a speed rusher. Ryan Anderson, he can help a lot in the run game, and he, like you say, he's coming to his own, and he's there, but they need a speed rusher. They definitely could use a guy like Sweat to get to the QB. They need, and also Ryan Kerrigan's getting up there in age, so actually I think pass rusher might be a little bit more important than I originally thought. My train of thought for the first round is that the really good ones will be gone, but they do need to. They might. Everyone's talking about trading up for a QB. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade up and grab a pass rusher either, because with Ryan Kerrigan getting up there in age and Ryan Anderson not necessarily showing what we need, this could be a huge position of need in the future, and addressing it now would be a very good thing. So what are some of the names that you think they should look, some of the guys that should be going after?
Yeah, I mean, there's you mentioned one off the top, man, with Sweat, man. He's definitely a great option. There's some other guys too that could really come in and help. You got Brian Burns from Florida State. I mean, you talk about speed. Brian Burns provides that. He's one of those guys that can bend the edge, you know, and just kind of just dance around the offensive tackle without them even really getting their hands on him. So he's quick to the QB. I mean, another guy I have rated really, really highly that a lot of teams are going to end up passing on is a guy like Ja'Kai Polite. Ja'Kai Polite reminds me of Junior Gillette in his prime. And if anybody remembers what Junior Gillette used to do to offensive linemen when he was in his prime with New Orleans, it was something special. So I like Ja'Kai Polite a lot. I mean, some other names, you got a guy like Chase Winovich from Michigan. I mean, this guy played opposite Rashawn Gary, and he had more sacks than Gary. And everyone knows what a freak Rashawn Gary is. I also really like Rashawn Gary a lot. I mean, there's been reports coming out that his shoulder, he has a labrum issue in his shoulder, but they're saying he should still be able to play this season. And Rashawn Gary, you've got one of the highest ceilings in the entire NFL draft. I mean, Rashawn Gary could be something special. Like, I mean, this dude, athleticism off the charts. I mean, strong as an ox. The only thing is he just has to develop his pass rush moves. He has a lot to develop in his game. He's an unfinished product. But the rewards could be huge for whichever team drafts him. And let's think, who else could? I mean, there's so many pass rushers available that, like, I could see them waiting, but at the same time, one of those elite guys, one of those guys that they look as a top 3-4 pass rusher in this class is there, you've got to jump on that. And, I mean, I'm assuming that guys like Nick Bosa and Josh Allen from Kentucky will be long gone. But if Josh Allen, but let's not forget, like you said, I mean, John Allen fell. Maybe Josh Allen could fall, and we you never know. I mean, so it's just gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see, man. If it is a pass rusher and one of those top guys falls, though, I will be ecstatic because I really feel like we're just a step closer to having a dominant defense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's keep it pushing right along, man. Now. First round, those are some first round targets that we feel like we would like to see, but there's 6 more rounds still to go, and the Redskins have 2 picks in the third, and we're gonna, like, what direction do you think this draft should go with the rest of the picks before we start jumping in and just throwing out some names, some late round gems that we'd like to see us grab? What direction would you like to see us go with the rest of the draft? Like you said, you already ranked your first rounder, but like what would you like with the rest of the picks? Who do you think we need to go offense primarily, defense primarily? What are the biggest needs outside of just quarterback and wide receiver and guard?
All right, so let's say we don't trade for Josh Rosen, right? Let's take that off the table. They keep him, they get Murray, they do whatever they do, or they trade Rosen to the Chargers, something, right? So he's not in Washington. So to me, that means absolutely got to draft a QB in the first round. But let's say all the good ones that we talked about get drafted before 15, and we can't trade up for anyone. All right, boom, got to go pass rusher at that point. Pass rusher or guard, in my opinion, based off the conversation that we just had. You kind of swayed me with the pass rusher thing. I think I would go pass rusher over receiver now. So I would say either go pass rusher or guard, best player available at one of those positions in the first round. Then when we get into the second round, get Will Grier. I don't care if you got to trade up to get Will Grier. If you can stay put at 45 or 46, whatever it is in the second round, then you stay there and you go after a guy like Will Grier. And there's a couple other names that I like at quarterback that we could grab in the second round. But regardless if it's a Will Grier or Jared Statham, someone like that, a couple other guys too, you need to get someone that at the very least will threaten or push Case Keenum's starting position. Because even if you say, all right, Case Keenum's a veteran and this guy is a rookie coming in, it needs to be someone who at least could potentially take that spot from Keenum. There needs to be a competition at it. Because Case Keenum, I think most Redskins fans agree, he's not really it. And, yeah, man, I think if you can't get one of those top quarterbacks in the first round, you go pass rusher or guard, and then in the second round you got to come back and get a quarterback. And then, yeah, man, hopefully you can find a decent enough receiver in the third round. But there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of needs, and there's a lot of good players that you can get. So I feel like between guard, linebacker, or edge rusher and quarterback, Washington's probably going to miss out on one of them. And it's probably going to be guard, judging off the Eric Flowers signing. But how do you think this draft is going to play out there? Like, how do you foresee this going?
Well, man, like I mean, you made some good points. I definitely want to see us grab it. If we're not able to get Rosen, we're not able to get one of the big time QBs with our first round pick. I definitely want to see us grab a quarterback in one of the later rounds, if not second, maybe third. Preferably second round, maybe third round. Third round I wouldn't be upset with, only because I see a couple quarterbacks that I really like in the later rounds, and I will get into that shortly. But, yeah, man, it's kind of tough because I don't know if with that second round pick if I would want to go wide receiver. It really all depends what happens in the first round, of course. But with that second round pick, if we could go receiver, I would like that. I mentioned N'Keal Harry. I got a hunch that he may be there around that pick. And so I think that would be a solid pick at 45. Now, if we do go quarterback, I'm not as big of a Will Grier fan as you are. I like Grier. I like his leadership ability. He seems to have his head on straight. But, man, one of my favorite guys is NC State's Ryan Finley, man. And Ryan Finley, to me, is going to end up being a really good quarterback in the NFL. And everyone is familiar with Aaron Rodgers, right? Now, I'm not saying Ryan Finley's Aaron Rodgers, but just listen. Ryan Finley has the pocket awareness, movement, and creative ability of Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have the rifle of an arm. But imagine Aaron Rodgers in the pocket with Kirk Cousins' arm, and that's kind of what Ryan Finley is. And I could see that guy. being a star down the line in the NFL. So I really like Ryan Finley a lot. And there's also another guy, man, named Easton Stick out of North Dakota State. He took over for Carson Wentz when he left, and that school hasn't missed a beat. Watch out for Easton Stick, man. If he's my late round target, if we're going to try to get a quarterback maybe 4th, 5th round, and it comes up and it's Easton Stick, man, that I would be hyped. I would be super hyped. Dude's got a nice arm, but the best thing about him is he's athletic. He can run. He's really got good pocket presence with the dual threat ability. I like him a lot. So there's a couple late round targets I keep my eyes on. But other than that, man, I think although we got a lot of holes on offense, man, I just think we got to keep building up this defense. I still want to see us grab a cornerback and a safety. I think both of those are needs. So we got to get a D back out in this draft. Maryland local product Darnell Savage, if he was our pick in the second or third round, I would be pretty ecstatic about that because I think you got a safety in him that you could pair up with Landon Collins from day one. So I mean, there's a lot of directions we can go, but I think there's a couple positions we're just going to have to grab. And I think receiver, defensive back, and some sort of offensive lineman. We got to get all three of those with our later picks.
Yeah, man, I agree right there. They definitely need to address safety. We can't go out there with Collins and DeShazier Everett. No disrespect to DeShazier Everett. I love his game, and he's definitely come a long way. I'd like to see Monte maybe get a few snaps. I don't know what his situation currently is. But as far as drafting another safety, my man Thompson out of Alabama, I know they love Alabama players, obviously, but he might not be there too much in the later rounds. What DBs do you think they should target in the later rounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think I personally feel like the defensive back is something I wouldn't wait too long in this draft. Like we kind of mentioned, man, receivers is deep in this draft. Edge rushers is super deep in this draft. But in my opinion, defensive backs, especially safeties, is not the deepest position. It's not the deepest position. So a couple guys to keep an eye on. You mentioned Deontay Thompson out of Alabama. He could be there in the second or third round. You got a guy like Rock Ya-Sin out of Temple. Man, this guy has lockdown corner potential, and he could be sitting there at the top of the second when we pick. Another guy I really like, man, safety out of Florida, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. During the evaluation process, a lot of pundits have his stock falling. But man, the more and more of his tape I watch, I like, because he can be like a Swiss Army knife in your defensive backfield. He can play the slot corner, he can play the safety, he'd even play a little outside corner, and he's pretty adequate at all those positions. So those are a couple names to keep an eye on. But I mean, like, I would like to see us grab. I mean, in one more position, man, we didn't really talk about. And we've kind of like looked at it solidified, but I think it's a little more up in the air than most. Is middle linebacker. I also think we got to grab a middle linebacker because we've got uncertainty. I don't think anyone really wants to see Mason Foster starting again. Sean Dion Hamilton is uncertainty because of his injury pass. And Reuben Foster, I mean, he's our only starter, and he missed a ton of time last year. So I don't know, man. I guess inside linebacker is another position. Like we said, we got tons of holes to fill. But I wouldn't mind seeing us get an inside linebacker as well. And even if that was the top pick, I didn't mention that in my first round when we talked about the first round pick. But if we ended up getting a guy like Devin Bush, I would not be upset about that.
Oh, I would not be mad at that at all. I think most Skins fans are over Foster after the little incident he had or on Instagram or whatever that was. I honestly don't think he's going to end up being the starter. I think it's going to be, as of who we have right now, I think it's going to be Reuben Foster and Sean Dion Hamilton. I want to see Hamilton get a shot, but like you said, his injury history, we got to add some depth. The thing with Hamilton is he fell in the later rounds like some of these other guys might due to injury. You know what I mean? Like, his injury history is what put him back. If you take away those injury histories, he's probably second round, first round pick potentially. So, I mean, I'd like to see what he can do, but with that injury history, it does scare me. So I do think they need to add some depth at inside linebacker. I could definitely see them going in a later round with that. But I agree 100% about the DBs, man. They got to – it's funny because Bruce Allen at the Combine, I believe it was at the Combine, said that he thought the team was close. He used the words "we're close." I'm not really sure what we're close to. We're close to another 6-10, 7-9, 8-8 kind of season, in my opinion, especially breaking down all the things that we just went through. I mean, the defense might be kind of close, but they got some holes to fill on offense, and I think this draft is going to be very, very interesting to see exactly what they do and where they go.
Yeah, man, just to piggyback on what you're saying, if Bruce Allen thinks we're close, he must really be planning on killing this draft. Like, if he kills this draft, then yeah, we're close. But if they don't get at least 3 starters out of this draft, then there's no way they can feel close to anything. At least not close to a Super Bowl, maybe close to a playoff berth. But I mean, we're in it for the rings. At least me and you are. But the Skins should be too. And hopefully after this draft, we look back and we're happy with what we're able to compile. I know one thing, man. One thing's for sure. Something crazy is going down on draft day. I just feel it, man. I got a feeling that something wild's going down.
Yeah, man. Washington, we didn't talk too much about the trades, but I really, really think they're going to make a trade in that first round. Pay close attention to this Josh Rosen situation. A lot of the stuff that's going out right now is smoke screens. Trust me. I'm not super close to the situation myself, but I do a lot of digging, and there's a lot of smoke screens going on, and there's still a strong chance that Josh Rosen ends up in Washington. And if he doesn't, there's a strong chance that Washington goes into this season with Case Keenum as a starter. So everyone needs to be prepared for that too. There's all kinds of possibilities here. We could have Josh Rosen, we could have Dwayne Haskins, we could have Case Keenum as the starter. We might have a second round or third round guy. It could be Ryan Finley or Will Grier, like we were saying. So we'll know. We got a lot of questions, and we'll have a lot of answers on the next pod after the draft. But I'm excited, man. I don't know about you, but I wish the draft was tonight, man. I'm hyped.
Yeah, no, I'm hyped too, bro. It's definitely gonna be lit, as the young ones say. It's gonna be something to watch. Like I said, I got a strong feeling the Skins are gonna do something wild, man. So we'll stay tuned and we'll keep you guys updated. If you're not already following us, get on Twitter, get on Instagram, type in @HTTR Culture, follow us, join the movement @GoodAssSports, sports for the culture. We're here. We ain't going nowhere. Signing out.
Free world. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline tape up.